Okay, I think we are live. So
Great.
hello, Brian. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? It's good to see
I'm
you.
great. Yeah, you too. I'm good. I'm in back in California. I was in Chicago actually for about a week and a half doing a whole bunch of things.
Great. And I think you also went up to Monterey since I saw you last.
I was in Monterey. Then I was actually in Oregon visiting some friends, and then I was in New York, and then Chicago, and now I'm back here.
Cool.
So yes, this is the life of an entrepreneur. We are doing multitasking every day and doing lots of things, which I can't complain. I do enjoy that. It can be a lot sometimes, but for the most part, my life is kind of set up to do that. So where are you right now? You're home,
Yes, I'm in San Diego.
which is a lovely place to live. And
Yes.
how long have you lived in San Diego?
I'm actually from San Diego. So I
Oh,
grew up here, went to high school here, and then I went up to UC Davis for undergrad, and then I went to the University of Maryland, and I was in the DC area for about 5 years for grad school, and did my PhD there, and then now I've been back about 13 or 14 years.
so yeah, DC versus San Diego. I mean, DC didn't have a chance. I don't think. That's just a very different thing,
Yeah,
right?
there's a lot of energy in DC. A lot of yeah, it's great to meet smart, ambitious people, and a lot of very strong science, yeah, very high level people in DC.
Cool. So for anyone watching, Brian is the founder of Dr. Watson's Haircare Skincare. Very interesting brand. His background is also fascinating, and I want to get into that because you are definitely not a normal founder background. So we're going to talk about that. And he also launched multiple categories, which is also kind of unique. Because most brands kind of pick a lane, stay in their lane, and you're like, no, I'm doing it
Yeah,
all.
we're all
So
over the place.
yeah, so that's also kind of a cool thing. So let's start, like, why don't you just tell people a little bit about your background and how you even got started in this? Because and then while you're doing that, I have to let my dog out or he's going to cry for the next half an hour. So you can go ahead and start. I'll be 2 seconds.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks again for this opportunity. So my background, yeah. So I'm a scientist and engineer. I'm My background is chemical engineering and material science. I started off, let's see, the very beginning, I started off in solid oxide fuel cells. I worked at a
I
lab.
mean, who can say that, right? Like that's like you're probably the only founder. Okay.
Yeah, I worked for in a lab at UC Davis, and there was a professor who was new and needed people to help run the lab. And I think I was 19 years old at the time, and said that sounds cool. It's all renewable energy. It all goes towards green, clean energy. And then from there, I jumped to the University of Maryland, where I invented a process to make biofuels from recycled newspapers. And I worked at the NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, for a couple of years as a part of my grad program. And so yeah, so it all has to do with yeah, how do we develop brand new processes, first of their kind technologies, and move back to San Diego. Um, Continued to work in science and engineering, and then in 2014 decided to sort of take the jump. And I had a business partner who had just finished an MBA, and he said, "Hey, let's start a small company and see what could happen." And it just so happened at the time the FDA came out with they were looking for somebody who could develop tests to look for harmful ingredients in cosmetics, and they were looking for somebody who could develop these tests to look for the type of proteins and antigens that cause severe allergic reactions in people. Um, and I thought, hey, there's no chance that the FDA will ever come to us because we don't even have a company. We're two guys in San Diego, and we
Right.
wrote this. We wrote up this idea, and it was an ELISA-based assay, an enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay, which was sort of based on came out of my grad. It was a sort of a technique that I used in grad school, and it can very specifically identify proteins in a wide variety of stuff. And what's challenging is cosmetics are actually very challenging to do testing on.
Mhm.
People don't realize, the dyes, the pigments. really mess up a lot of things. And so it's actually very tough to do that kind of testing. So yeah, so wrote up an idea, we sent it into the FDA thinking we would never hear anything. I mean, the FDA is notorious for taking months or years to do anything. And 2 weeks later, we got a response.
Wow.
Um, 2 weeks later, they came back with some serious questions, and then they followed up and they said, "Hey, we see that you guys you're not in the database of contractors. What's going on?" And so we got all of our stuff together, and 2 days later, we had a contract award from the FDA to build these tests. So then, yeah, we set off. We worked for about 3 years doing that, and yeah, it's the FDA is a tough agency to work with. I give them credit. People sort of take for granted that when you go to the pharmacy or when you go to CVS and someone prescribes you a drug, that you can rest assured that that's what you're going to get. It's not going to be contaminated. And yeah, I mean, along the way, the FDA, they sent their audit team out to our lab, and that was
Oh,
quite an
that must have been
experience.
stressful.
Yeah, we got a very cryptic, I don't know, call one day from our program manager. He said, "We're sending you a package of documentation, and I can't tell you what it is, but we can set up a call to discuss it." And you know, we've I remember talking to my business partner saying, "I don't know what they're doing," and it said, "Yes, we're sending a quality manager and two PhDs from Washington to your lab, and we are going through everything and your documentation." And they did, and we did really well. And then a big step is they sent us a contracts letter saying that they had validated our assays and they believed our assays worked. And that took about 3 years. And that was one of those like aha moments of, okay,
Yes.
all our work is going towards something.
Yes.
Um, and then people don't realize, but the FDA has a adverse event report process. So if you use a drug or if you use, I mean, anything under the FDA, anything they cover. So anything, cosmetics, hair care, skin care, if you truly believe that you put a cream on your skin and it caused a severe rash or something, you can report that. And so the FDA had received a lot of these reports in the area of latex containing products. So people don't realize hair bond adhesives, eyelash adhesives, face paints, a lot of stuff that go on kids. If you go to the Halloween store right now, like everything on the shelf contains natural rubber latex. And so the FDA had received a lot of these reports, including a couple of people who had died.
Oh, gee.
Um, and they had no idea, the FDA had no idea, are these reports valid? Is this stuff true?
Yeah.
What's out there in the United States? They had no idea. And so then they said, okay, well, we want you to take your tests, and we're going to give you the list of products, and you can go and walk into these stores, which are mainline stores, and buy these products off the shelf and then test them and report back to us what you found. So we did.
Wow.
There was a list of 75 products. There was about another 25 that they sort of suspected. So it was about 100 products in total, and it was shocking. It was truly shocking what we found. Not being in this space, I thought that the FDA was that we weren't going to find anything, and the FDA was going to say, we just don't believe that your tests are doing, you're not doing anything. And it was quite the opposite. It was stuff that we had some products where there was so much harmful junk that we actually had to dilute the products down so that it wouldn't just saturate our tests. It was that bad. So we sent our final report in. We didn't hear anything. It took them it took the FDA 18 months to review our product report. And that was sort of another big aha moment as they came back and they said, okay, we're stamping it. We put it through the whole FDA, scientific review process, which is extensive. And yes, we believe your report is valid. Um, so, yeah,
Wow.
so the whole idea is that they were going to take the results of this program and they contracted other programs similar to this around that time. And then they were going to put that forward into new regulations, and just with changing political environments, that hasn't quite happened. There was the MOCRA, the modernization of cosmetic regulations, which is certainly a step forward, but there's still some room for improvement. So coming out of all that, since the FDA, sort of seeing what the next steps are, that was sort of our inspiration to say, hey, if we've worked with all these products, we've worked with all these chemistries, why don't we create our own line? Let's start with hair care. Let's start with stuff that we know about. That's why I start with styling products. People always ask, why did you start? Who comes up with a new pomade? I said, well, I use that every day, so I know what that's about. And then that expanded into shampoos, conditioners, body washes, beard products. Yeah, I think that you really have to become a part of someone's daily routine, and so you really got to go beyond just having a shampoo or you really have to create the entire line.
Wow. So there's so much stuff that you said that was like we could probably talk for hours and
Yes,
unpack a lot of it. And sorry for my dogs. They're
we're
just
talking of years of work
years.
there.
So, okay. So this whole thing with the FDA is crazy because you're right. Like, who would think these two guys who really didn't have experience doing that particular thing before, you're not even in the database.
Right.
That mean that there's no one else really doing this? Or were you two guys of like 20 teams that they hired and they're trying
No,
to,
so that was so that comes back to the sort of the strategic development, and it's always that big thing with your like how many it's like any job, do they have other
yeah.
candidates, how are they doing? And so we asked for a debrief after we won, and they told us our proposal was the only technically qualified proposal that they received.
What? So you're the only one.
Yes, that was, I thought they would have 10 or 20, and that's
Yeah, that's what
part
I
of
would have thought. And that to me is no offense, but shocking because like here we are using all these products every day and they're in my opinion what they're trying to do is just catch up to the EU, right?
yes,
Like the EU is so far ahead of us and they're constantly monitoring ingredients and they're putting them on the watch list and they've got
yes,
like and stuff comes on the watch list and off the watch list. But like it's a very robust,
yeah,
like you don't have formaldehyde in your mascara, and then here in the US, it's like anything goes kind of, but I would have thought there'd be many more people that could figure this out. And to your point, it wasn't the most straightforward process to get to the answers, the
right.
technology, but other labs, I mean, you think, how many labs are out there making cosmetic products in the US? I don't even know the number, but it's got to be a ton, right?
Right, but the testing is very separate from making it. I think
Yeah.
that's a big distinction.
But regardless, you would think if a company is coming up with a new, like, so I get emailed all the time from these manufacturing labs, and you probably do too, where they're
Yes,
like, we've come up with a silicone alternative that's a naturally derived bluppity blup or whatever. Well, I'm sure they have to test it. They can't just put it out there.
you would be very surprised, and people don't realize the FDA doesn't have enforcement in this area. So for pharmaceuticals and for medical devices, I mean, the FDA has inspection teams
Yeah,
the same way the FBI has teams, and people don't realize they can
yeah,
go in literally guns drawn if you're producing a pharmaceutical that is contaminated with mercury. I mean, the FDA has people like FBI agents,
yeah,
but it sort of goes over a cliff, and that if you're making a shampoo, the FDA can send you warning letters. You see these ads on TV, and I just saw that they're starting to crack down on some of these people that are making these outrageous claims that you eat this fruit and it'll lower your blood pressure or whatever stuff. That, there's zero scientific
yeah.
basis behind that. And yeah, they can send you a letter saying we'd like you not to do that, but
It's
that's sort of the way
interesting
it is.
because you're right. There's so many of these Instagram and TikTok and whatever, these ads that are very assertive about their
Yeah, hair
claim.
regrowth and lowering
Yes,
blood pressure and it's I mean those are very strong medical
very strong
claims.
claim. And the thing is, as a consumer, well, as a marketer, I know better.
Yes.
The consumer, I want to believe it because we're all suckers. We all want a quick fix. And if it's telling you you could take this pill that's going to do all these things, I mean, it's hard. I can 100% see why people get drawn in by that
Yeah.
and will do it. And that's but then again, we also have had a number of lawsuits against beauty products in the US, including some hair care brands, which you probably are well aware of. Olaplex being one, Diva
Yes.
Curl being another. There's been a number of them. So that's not a great way to solve the problem, is wait until there's a lawsuit. You know what I mean?
But
Uh,
that's the thing, a lot of brands aren't aware of it because if you don't have to be, then it sort of falls off the radar. It doesn't sort of because so sort of at the end of our program with the FDA, we went to a big conference of the IFSCC, and we presented a big poster alongside. We had the FDA emblem up on the poster, and we talked to a lot of people who were very interested. A lot of the very big companies were interested, and then when it sort of became clear that politics had changed and the FDA was not going to drop the hammer in this area, people just sort of, well, we'll wait and see. We'll sort of circle back when um, at some later date. And so that's the thing. If you don't have to do it, people
yeah.
people don't, and that's a harsh
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah, no, and that's also understandable, right? As humans, we are procrastinators by
Yes.
nature. And so that is also, I get it. Okay, but let's connect the dots between that whole experience, which is fascinating, and then what led you to launch your own line of products. Because that's
Yes.
also like, yeah, you could have kept doing what you're doing. I'm sure there's still a huge need for it. And I would imagine they're still calling you, asking you to test stuff.
The problem is that the need, if the FDA isn't dropping the hammer, people don't
They're not doing it voluntarily.
exactly. So,
Hmm.
so surprisingly, there's a lot of trade-offs in business. Do you do sort of the much higher value, lab tests route where there's sort of that, that there could be a big future payoff there if the FDA did ever, drop the hammer in this area, or do you sort of go with the in this case, consumer products, which there's a ginormous market, and have something more stable. I mean, that it we did find. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. It is very tough to work with the government in a lot of ways, and you know, I said the FDA is a very demanding agency. I mean, the amount of retesting they demanded was just unbelievable. And then you get into these budget squabbles of, they think, oh, it's not a big deal for you to just redo everything because we feel like it. That can, oh, you can just roll that into other tests. It's like, no, we can't. This is very expensive stuff. So um,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of business decisions. Yeah, which route do you go? I mean, do you have the test route, or do you go more into consumer products? And it's been quite an experience on both fronts.
Okay, so then what made you decide to then take the leap and launch your brand?
Um, well, like I said, it's sort of the both the uh, just understanding the chemistries and knowing that we could create really good products that could do
That
good
don't have
things
any
for
of this
people.
stuff, right? That would pass your tests.
Yes, and then secondly, like I said, without that FDA, without sort of the threat of FDA hanging over the industry, the testing market is very tough. That's uh,
Right. So you're thinking, well, it's not like you can go to big corporations and sell your testing
right.
services because they don't really care. They're not
Exactly. If
going
we
to do
did
it
that, and we
unless
had people, we had one company based in one of the big guys. We had I remember we had this sort of big teleconference. We had three vice president level people, and they were very explicit. Hey, if these regulations do come to pass, we will call you, and you will be our supplier for this. And if they don't,
we will
we
never
wish we
talk to
we
you
wish you the very best.
again. I mean, yeah, that's sad because it's like there's the right thing to do and then there's the easy thing to do.
Yes,
And those things don't always
they
go
don't always align.
they don't always align. And so unfortunately, what a lot of people don't know about the beauty industry is that most of the big companies, their interest is not in creating good for you, high performing, good for you, good for the environment products. A lot of them are tapped into legacy supply
Yep.
chains with, unfortunately, sulfates, phthalates, paraben, things that are not, you don't necessarily want in your products, but they're cheap.
Yep.
And that's why also, like, you probably have experienced this, although your products are not as expensive as my products, where people will be like, well, why is your shampoo $38? It's so much. And I'm like, well, first of all, the ingredients are super good for you, clean, but they're dense. Our product is not watery. It's
Right.
very nutrient dense. So you can use this much. And then when people start using our product, they'll report back and be like, oh my God, that lasted me 6 months. I'm like, so if you do the math and you look at a product that you're buying where you're just burning through it because it's watery and it's not as effective versus our product, I think we're going to hold up pretty well. Not to mention it's way better for you, it performs better, all those things. But from a consumer standpoint, people are very attention span of a goldfish.
Yeah,
They just
people
don't
buy
want to
based on
think that
emotion,
hard.
not based on the facts that you just laid out.
No, it's too much for their brains to contemplate. It's like, what? No, I'm just going to pick up the one I've always used because I don't want to think about that. That's too much. So getting somebody over that hump is really hard. So do you have that issue as well with people saying, okay, why do I care? And why is it more expensive than my drugstore product? Or is that not such a problem?
Let's see. I mean, we've sort of found that, yeah, sort of that high 30s for a shampoo and conditioner seems to be sort of the sweet spot for us. We found if you go higher than that,
Yeah.
it's sort of a different, you're into a different, I don't know, a different base, which, like I said, we're learning about all these different marketing
Yeah,
aspects, and I mean, that's certainly probably the one area of the business we've, uh, you know, we could use, yeah, we could use help on. And then if it's much under that, then it just isn't profitable, and we can't compete with,
right,
if you're just going to go to Costco and buy the stuff, then
right,
that's a different market as well.
right. That's not your consumer
Right.
necessarily. Okay, so you started with hair care.
Yes.
Okay, and then what made you decide to also then do skincare? Now, skincare, in my opinion, is a much harder market than hair. Hair care is tough for a couple reasons. Hair care is tough because the consumer is super unloyal and fickle.
Okay.
We have one of the lowest loyalty numbers in beauty in hair care. Do you know what it is? It's about 13%. So my products our loyalty is about 35%, which I'm thrilled with because that's way above the industry average. However, that's still 6 people who try my product and then buy something else. So it's a
Yeah.
difficult, you know what I mean? It's like half glass half full, half glass empty, but it's a difficult market to really, you got to really push people to, especially, and even when people love our products, they still will go to something else, because it's what they know, or if they're in the
Yes.
store, it's easy, they can grab it at the shelf. It's like there's so many things that make it hard. Now, okay, hair care. And also people are very finicky about, well, my hair's different. No, it's not. I'm sorry. But they say, everyone says that. They all think their hair is different. They all think the product is not going to work for them. And so there's a whole thing there. But skincare, in my opinion, is even worse. The loyalty is maybe slightly higher, but not much. But the thing that you have is the competitiveness in skincare is like 10 times worse than hair care. Because there's just so many products. It's
I
just
think the chemistries are simpler. It's easier to make. It's more straightforward.
in skincare.
Yeah.
Oh, I
In
didn't.
some ways, I'm sure you
Yeah.
could argue that, but
No, that's interesting. I think that's maybe true,
and I
but
remember at Founder Made 1 or 2 years ago when they had sort of the whole wall of skincare. The entire place was either food products or skincare products. And I remember I
yeah,
went and I asked some of these people. I said, "Well, do you do hair care?" And everyone said, each
yeah.
one said, "Oh no." And I each asked, "Well," I said, "Well, why do you just have 1 or 2 products here?" And one of them explicitly said, well, um, you know, the diversity of chemistries is just too much. So I guess that's what I should say. I should rephrase it. I mean, yes, there are certainly
Yeah.
very complicated skincare formulations, but just having the breadth of, I mean, how a shampoo works is completely different than how a vitamin C serum or a moisturizer works on your skin. I
Yeah.
mean, the charge balance between, you hear about, anionic, surfactants and all these different, it has to be balanced, and yeah, how that works and how that is stabilized, and how that is kept thick is totally different than how a moisturizer or something else. So it's. I think this gets back to what you were saying at the beginning of the call. It's a lot harder for a brand to go into all these different categories and to do it well.
It is. And I think it's different now a little bit, but back in the day when I worked in advertising, it was very unusual to go from being in one category to another. Like it was almost unheard of.
Hmm.
Now I do see brands doing it more, but it's still more of an anomaly than
Hmm.
the norm for sure. So you launched. So let's talk about well, first of all, do you have your products there just to show people?
Yes.
Let's do that.
Um, yeah. So I think sort of the shampoo and
Yeah.
conditioner is sort of our main line. I mean, this is our. Uh, I'm trying to do this in a mirror image
Yeah,
of the
no, that's
camera.
perfect.
um,
That looks great.
Yeah, so yeah, so shampoo, sulfate free. We check all the boxes: sulfate free, paraben free. Um, it sort of has a very fresh, outdoorsy sort of unique blend of
But
of
subtle. It's not an overpowering
yes,
smell at
exactly.
all.
Because a
Yeah.
lot of times the fragrance and the essential oils or whatever is being used, that in itself can be a source of
No.
irritation. So that's why we try to be you got to have something. You can't just have this chemical smell, but at the same time, you don't want to have this overpoweringness. And then, yeah, that's oftentimes paired with our conditioner. And then we also have a sweet pea version,
Oh,
the same shampoo, but in a sweet pea form, with sort of a more, more purple type
hmm,
packaging. And then, that also comes in a trio with a body wash. um,
nice.
the body wash has sort of a lime spearmint, invigorating, fresh scent to it.
Love that.
And then most recently, we have our a brand new face wash and sort of new packaging that's going to sort of propagate through our upcoming skincare line. And this has um, sort of a cool lemon verbena scent to which also goes with the line. We also have several styling products. We have our hair cream. We also have a pomade, um, hair oil. So the whole idea is we want to be a part of someone's daily routine where we have
Yeah.
everything to nourish, wash, condition, style, and give you different levels of styling. So like we have our sea salt spray, and so this we've done testing on a variety of sea salt sprays, and this is very competitive with we're very competitive with all the mainline brands, and so uh, and then we also have kits and
And your products look gender neutral. Are they geared towards men, women, or are they actually gender neutral?
let's see, we don't have a specific, and this, like I said, this comes back to our marketing, and we're very focused on the technical side of,
Yeah.
I'm much more comfortable sitting here talking about the pH balance, and I'm much more comfortable sitting here talking about
Yeah.
ELISA assays and nanogram levels of antigens, than I am sitting here talking about marketing. Um, yeah, so we don't have a specific. I think we've sort of gotten the feedback that these are a little more masculine, and then our sweet
Yeah.
pea versions that are more the pinks and the purples are a little more geared towards more of a feminine audience. But in terms of face wash, styling products, yeah, we don't have a certain target. And what's interesting is, so we started on Flip about a couple years ago,
Yeah.
and we did the on the house program, which really was great for us. And what was interesting, and so for people that don't know, so there was a platform that recently shut down, and we met them at Founder Made, and they said, hey, we're starting this sort of like TikTok.
Yeah.
Um, join our platform. And as a part of that, you send in 12 products and we'll randomly send them out to people and they'll do reviews. And you don't know who they are. And so these orders will come in and they sort of mask it. So you don't know if it's a real order or not. So, there's no bias towards like, this is a free product. So, we'll treat it differently. So no difference. And then randomly reviews pop up. And one of the things was like, women would get our pomade and they would use it for flyaways. And at the time, I didn't even know what a flyaway was. And so we're sort of getting feedback on Flip of how people are using our products. And it was interesting to, to see and to get that. And I will say it was very candid and part of the anonymous aspect is, if someone didn't like something or somebody thought the scent was wasn't good, they would,
They would tell you. Yeah.
yeah, there was no sugarcoating of anything.
Yeah, that is a really good consumer feedback. Well, was a very good consumer feedback.
It was shocking. They were worth $1 billion just a year ago, and now they're out of business.
Shocking, but not, because we were on it as well. And I remember feeling like they can't sustain giving away these free credits and free products to people. Like it felt like a Ponzi scheme to me.
Yeah.
But as a brand, I was like, I'm all in. I'm happy to do it. But then it was like, how could that really work? So, yeah, that was a really disappointing thing to hear that news. But they're not the only one. I mean, so many live streaming apps that we've been on are no longer around. So that's the other challenge. It's like finding channels and finding ways to connect to your consumers.
Yes.
So let's talk about that for a little bit. Where are your consumers right now? Like, what's your best place that you're connecting?
Let's see. I mean, we had a lot of success on Flip. I mean, we had over 500 orders on Flip.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Flip, and then yeah, we have all the sort of the big name channels. I mean, we have TikTok, Instagram, a lot of uh, direct sales. I don't think we've really made a good marketing push yet. I mean, we've been so focused on the technical. I mean, the first thing is you've got to have good products that are stable that could go to manufacturing, because if you can't manufacture this on a large scale, then it's just a hobby.
Yeah, that's
Um, and and so that has taken a lot longer than we've expected. And so, I know TikTok has a program with sort of, it sounds very similar to like what Flip had, where you sort of send products to influencers and
yeah.
they get a commission every time they sell one. That is on our to-do list. We did have an Amazon site, but we haven't. Every single one of these platforms takes I mean, it's almost like having a full-time job of like, okay, how do you do the Amazon ads and how do you bid? And because I mean, you can spend $5,000 on Amazon ads in like 10 minutes and get 2 orders out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's certainly an area that yeah, we're looking for help in, um, and we're very pleasantly surprised with with the level of business we have had, given our marketing and our repeat business. We're at about 18%. So you mentioned the industry average about 13.
Yeah.
Um, so uh,
That's
so yeah,
great.
it is good to see those people come back. We're approaching about 1,100 orders of our new line. So it's good. It's also interesting to see the data to now, to have enough orders from all across the
Yeah.
country to start to have a statistically significant, look at things, and not just, okay, it's just your friends in San Diego, they're buying it,
Right.
which doesn't mean anything,
Right.
which is
Right.
great. We're very appreciative of that, but you
But
can't make
yeah,
business decisions based on,
well, that's a little bit of the challenge when you're a small brand, is the chicken
right.
and egg. You don't know if it's because that's your network and that's who you've reached out to, and therefore your
Yes.
audience looks a certain way, or if it's legitimately those are the people who find your product, so I deal with that too. It's a little bit like, but is that because my customers tend to be over 40? And it says, is it because of me? Because I'm, well over 40, or is it because that works better for their hair? I don't know, really. Fascinating. Well, this has been highly educational for me, and enlightening, and I hope it is for all of the people watching as well. So let's just sum it up with where people can find you. That's important.
DrWatsonsHaircare.com. That's Dr. Watsons haircare.com. Yeah, please take a look. And
Perfect. And
uh,
then you're also at Atlas in Westfield Valley Fair. So anyone
yes,
who's up in the San Jose, Santa Clara area, check it out. It's a really cute store with all indie brands, and you can get Dr. Watson's there as well. All right, well, thank you. We will do this again down the road because it's super
thank
interesting.
you so much. I really appreciate it.